197 or go to humanafreebook.com.
Well, this big story keeps on getting bigger. But Jerry Sandusky facing a 40-count indictment of child sex abuse in the Penn State scandal, now proclaiming his innocence in an interview with NBC sportscaster Bob Costas. Now, Costas not pulling any punches, asking Sandusky about specific details in the grand jury report.
I am innocent of those charges.
Innocent, completely innocent, and falsely accused in every aspect?
Well, I could say that, I have done some of those things. I have horsed around with kids. I have showered after workouts. I have hugged them, and I have touched their leg without intent of sexual contact.
This is the first time, of course, we're hearing from Sandusky. We have a lot of questions, and here to tackle some of those questions with us, Ellis Cannon, publisher of the Pittsburgh Sports Report, also a former trial attorney for some legal perspective. And we have from our Fox News Medical Aid team a psychiatrist, Dr. Keith Ablow, and welcome to you both. What an interview to sit through and listen to. And Ellis, just starting off with you, why even do this interview?
Absolutely clueless. You do it for one of two reasons, ostensibly. One is for PR, and two is legal. The reality is, from the PR standpoint, it's totally unwinnable. Anything that Jerry says is going to be, well, basically funneled through the prism of what people have already heard. It is literally unwinnable. The win, should it be able to happen, would be in the legal courtroom. This isn't the place for it. As a matter of fact, any one-dimensional type of statements like you heard last night could completely be turned on their head once you get into a three-dimensional setting in the courtroom, where you have evidence to challenge it, courtroom testimony, and so forth. The reality is, by going on last night and saying the things he said, and I would never have anybody do anything like that, the fact what he has done is he's in some ways made it easier for the prosecution. He's made it so that now we're talking about a different shade of gray. We're not talking in absolutes.
Let's stop there with absolutes, Ellis, if we can. And Dr. Ablow, take a listen to this key part of the interview. There was a lot of great questions and a lot of interesting responses. Listen to the response by Sandusky when he was asked this question.
Are you sexually attracted to young boys, to underage boys?
Am I sexually attracted to underage boys? Sexually attracted, no, I enjoy young people. I love to be around them. But no, I'm not sexually attracted to young boys.
Dr. Ablow, in your professional opinion, how do you make sense of that answer?
Well, here's the thing, Jenna, Lee. The bottom line is that when you deliver an answer like that and you do it in a monotone and you stumble through it, when most of us would be either enraged or issuing denial after denial saying, listen, you tell me where to show up for 20 polygraphs and I'll be there. This man either doesn't register emotion or he's downplaying his emotion to such an extent that he hopes we won't notice that he's edited all such things out of his response. Remember, people who can do this to kids, and I'm not declaring him guilty, but if he could do this to kids, he has to have no empathy. And that means he can't tell what we're going to think of what he says. He can't get an emotional barometer of it. That's why he would say things that are patently ones that take us aback without knowing that he's doing it.
Ellis, it sounds like what Dr. Ablow is describing is exactly what you say could be used against Sandusky in a court of law.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact is what he'd like to be able to do, just like Penn State would like to be able to do, is to pivot out of this moment to a better place. And that just is not practical right now. It may not be the type of thing that a defendant wants to hear, or for that matter, potentially an attorney, but the best place and the only place for this to take place and to defend it is in the courtroom. Anything that you do in this context only makes it that much more difficult when you ultimately get to where it really counts.
Ellis, let's go ahead and play another quick part of this interview as well. This was a description of a particular incident that has certainly gotten a lot of attention. Take a listen to this part of Costas' interview.
Did happen in the shower the night that Mike McQuarrie happened upon you and the young boy.
Okay, we were showering and horsing around, and he actually turned all the showers on and was actually sliding across the floor, and we were, as I recall, possibly like snapping a towel, horseplay.
Ellis, I mean,
Again, this is what I meant earlier. Unless he has something absolute to say in terms of where he was and why, you can't go on and offer something that basically helps build the case against you. And that's what he did. By offering a different shade of gray, you leave it this much now to a jury to accept, as opposed to all of this. And that really, look, we understand that there has to always be said the legal caveat. All of us were reminded of it last night. But when you see and hear what you saw last night, in some respects, it plays into the fait accompli that so many people have come to accept. From the President of the United States all the way down,
Sure.
we seemingly have embraced the fact that this occurred. And to a certain extent, this played into it.
Dr. Abloh, go ahead.
You know, keep this in mind, and I've just posted a blog on FoxNews.com about this very point. Keep this in mind. Jerry Sandusky may think of all of us, if he's guilty, as 10-year-old prey. In other words, that we're going to believe his... Well, because if he sees people as easily manipulated, if he thinks of his needs as those that should rule the day, he may not be able to think of the filter we're passing his words through. And so it may be that a tall tale told to a 10-year-old boy to get in the shower with him is the same kind of story he thinks will pass muster with us or a jury.
Dr.
If he's
Abloh,
guilty, it's a rude awakening.
And we are, in a sense, all of us trying Sandusky in the court of public opinion. We're going to have to wait for the legal courts to get underway.
Absolutely.
Just a final question for you, Dr. Abloh, and I got to run. I just can't help but think about the victims listening to this, the alleged victims, of course, at this case. But what's in it for anybody to come forward? You see this guy talking about this case in the way that he is, and again, we don't know what the truth is, but I can't help but think about the victims. What is in it for them to come forward if there are indeed other victims? It would be incredibly intimidating.
It is only this. When you stare down a perpetrator, if this man is a perpetrator, when you stare him down, you are greater than he is. Though you may have been a victim in the past, you are no longer.
Dr. Abloh and Ellis, thank you so much. It's nice to have you both of your perspectives, and we'll continue to cover this story. We'll be right back with more happening now.
Thanks, Jenna.